Hey there, Alethea here. In this video, I have 3 thrift flips for you. So let's get started. Project 1 is the bar stools, and I'm actually doing 2 of these, even though only one is pictured here. And the first thing I did was clean them thoroughly. Here is what I initially did to the chair, but I ended up changing my mind, so I'm not including this process here. So I sanded down the seat once again, and by the way, this is a graphite base color with white wax on top, and then the seat is a graphite color wash with also white wax. Anyway, I do like this look, I just didn't want it for this piece. Next, I gave the chairs 2 coats of Wavery in Celery. By the way, this is a very budget-friendly chalk paint, which you can find in Walmart. That small bottle was $6, and I used about half of it to cover both chairs in 2 coats. I didn't bother with primer because I didn't think it was necessary, and it wasn't, but you can apply primer if you want to. Next, I sort of bleached the seats without actually bleaching them. What I did was I applied kind of a heavy color wash technique using Wavery and Cashew. Instead of mixing a color wash, I dipped the brush into the paint and then into the water so that the paint was drenched, but it wasn't a watercolor. To spread the color, I traced the wood grain with my brush and then I wiped it off like a stain. I did that over the whole piece until I got a beautiful blonde shade, which I absolutely love. Once the chairs were dry, I applied Sloan clear wax. I love how this wax really brings out the color, and all you do is rub it in like a lotion and then wipe back the excess. So here's a reminder of before. Next project is this vase I got at a local thrift store. After thoroughly cleaning the piece, I went right into texturing. Again, this is very budget friendly. The texture I'm using is an all-purpose caulking I got from the Dollar Tree. I emptied the tube onto the vase and rubbed it all over until it was completely covered, and it took about 3 tubes to cover this vase. This stuff is very easy to work with, although it is very sticky, and it does set up pretty quickly, but takes a while longer to completely dry. After letting it sit for about an hour, it was pretty much set by then, but not completely dry. I used water at this point to smooth it out a little. I let the vase dry overnight, then I applied a coat of Sloan's French linen, but once again I changed my mind and went with the olive color instead. Once that dried, I applied a cocoa color wash, similar to the bar stool seats, only instead of wiping off the excess, I dabbed the towel to give the illusion of more texture and add more depth to the vase. I sealed the vase with Annie Sloan's clear wax. Here's a reminder of before and after. Let me know what you think, but I absolutely love this. Next project is probably my favorite. It's this jewelry box that I remade for my daughter. I got it for $4 at the same thrift store house, and I immediately knew exactly what to do with it. First, I cleaned the piece thoroughly. Then I lightly sanded the whole thing. And after that, I applied 2 coats of Zinsser primer. I sanded between coats. Once the primer dried, I added 2 coats of ink in Wavery, and again, very budget friendly at $6 for a small bottle, or I believe around $10 for the larger one, and you can find this at Walmart. I'm going for a smooth, flat finish here, so I paint even strokes along the grain. Again, I'm going for a smooth and flat finish, so I sanded between coats with a very fine grit sandpaper of 320. For the sides of the drawers, I sanded those down and stained it with an antiquing wax, applying it just as if it were a stain. I applied the antiquing wax with a paintbrush and wiped it off with a lint-free shop towel. Once everything was dry, I sealed the jewelry box with Dixie Belle's Clear Coat Flat. I applied 2 coats, and you can use any sealer you want, even wax will do, but I felt this one would have the best effect, and it does turn out very nicely. By the way, if you do use this, be sure to dip from a separate dish because the black will stick to the paintbrush and get into the sealer. And you wouldn't want to ruin your whole supply of sealer. Next, I covered the handles and wire trim with Dixie Belle Gold Gilding Wax. On the glass, I used Rustoleum linen white chalked paint and once again sanded between coats for this semi-smooth effect. And for this, I was going for a slightly worn look. Then I used a Magnolia Garden Transfer and totally messed it up. By the way, I always include material lists in the description so you know exactly what I used in case you want to do any of these projects. So here's what happened. The transfer did not stick, and in fact it peeled up the paint, and I was pretty bummed because it was the only piece like it in this package. So here's what I did. I cut the transfer out and Mod Podged it in its place. It's not exactly what I envisioned, but it did add to the worn look I was going for, and it actually looks really good. My daughter loves it. I gave it 2 top coats of the Mod Podge. Here's a reminder of before. I really appreciate you being here with me this late in the video. In an earlier video, I mentioned sort of a bigger project. This is taking a little longer. You'll see why when I publish it, so stay tuned for that. In fact, if you haven't already, you may want to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss it. You won't want to miss that one. In the meantime, if you enjoy thrift flips, here's another video I'll put up on the screen. And if you would prefer to watch a furniture art video, I will put that up there as well. Again, thank you for being here. I do appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.